I believe everything's just a stepping stone to get somewhere, and it's difficult to get over there without, getting to the stepping stones.
Yeah.
That there's no way to get to the end product without getting here first or getting there.
Yeah.
So once you've kind of gotten 5 stepping stones closer to the end goal, the first stepping stone's really not important to you anymore.
Yeah.
But it was super important to get the first stepping stone there in place in a process of learning.
So I guess you forget where you've come from in a lot of ways. Like, if you don't need it, you're just like, leave it in the past, focus on what you need.
Yeah, that's the classic Zen method.
Learn it all, then forget everything.
Yeah.
To a degree.
Yeah, you meant to sort of, the things you forget are meant to be embodied, so you don't need it in your forefront of your consciousness to be training and focused on. It's already in you.
It's like intuitive, to a sense. Is intuitive the right word?
Maybe more muscle memory than intuitive. Yeah, it's just in place. It's
spontaneity that happens.
So maybe it's all of those things.
Yeah.
And Aikido lends itself to Zen because Zen's so enigmatic and has bizarre ways of trying to explain something through metaphor and hyperbole. And Aikido tends to fit that way of explanation. So there's no real steadfast way to explain Aikido. And the dilemma is the moment you make it so, it stagnates. So it's a really tough point of order for Aikido. Is it's not fixed in time. It's not that way forever.
I've heard with lots of sort of Zen teachings, like one of the reasons they sort of package up the deepest lessons in, riddles and poems and stories and challenges and tests and all those things, just so like if you do make it through the riddle or you do work it out, you've had to push through enough that when you finally hear the right thing, you're actually listening, like it's potent essentially. Because if you're just told the answer, you're given the secret, here you go.
It's not important.
It's not important.
Nope.
Often.
Yeah. Or it's very easy to forget then without it being held on to long enough for it to be embodied.
Well, I can't tell you how many good quotes I've seen on Instagram that I can't remember anymore, but at that point in time, it made total sense. It fit into my life.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck yeah, I got to remember that. I don't.
So for me, a lot of those are just these popcorn moments, like a kernel popping. It's just this instantaneous, spontaneous realization and not everlasting, long-lasting enlightenment. And they're just stepping stones to get you, you have to have that moment of spontaneous,
got it.
Wow. And then you get back into your mundane again and another one turns up. Wow. Awesome. I think it'd be a really taxing existence if the whole world was just like,
Yeah, often it's the slow burn, slow burn of some lessons, just the small little bits of insight overlapping one another for a long time that eventually develop into some real knowledge or something like extreme and fucking dramatic that happens that does leave an imprint.
And for leading on from that, the tough part about the commercialization of martial arts is everybody wants something that they can take away right now and use and feel like they could use it somehow, whether it's the ego boost, the conversation with somebody. I do XYZ martial art, I do boxing, I do MMA, I do jiu-jitsu, and people go, oh, wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with you kind of thing. And you feel kind of boastful, and it's a proud moment for yourself, and it should be because you're training in something that's quite difficult. And Aikido doesn't lend itself to that because generally most people have no clue what Aikido is. And if you do have a clue about what Aikido is, it's generally the wrong idea about Aikido. So you don't get a lot of truth given to you about Aikido because it's so difficult to bundle up and go, here it is. And it does take a lot. In the beginning, it takes quite a period of intensive training and study to get any good at it. But that's kind of indicative of a good subject, I think. You know, for me, it's a pretty boring subject if I walk in and they go, here is 5 things you're going to learn tonight. And at the end of it, I go, yeah, man, that was good. That was easy. For me, my personality, I don't last long in those environments if it's too easy. Like I enjoy the struggle that comes along with the learning and creating the higher level or a sophisticated art form that you're studying.
It's a fine line, right? Because on one side, I guess it's that balance. If it's too easy for, I guess in your case and a lot of people's cases, you lose interest quickly, or you feel like you worked it all out. So it's like, well, what else is there? Or you're in a position for a lot of people where it's just too complex or too hard, or you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel as soon as you begin, and it's like, well, fuck, I don't want to waste my time on something that I might never understand or might never get there. And that balance in the middle, I guess a spiritual path is kind of like that as well. It's this elusive thing that you don't really know what you're chasing and if it's even real.
That's part of the Zen process, is you're not told about anything, so you have to challenge yourself to get through the whole process without knowing what the outcome is. Because then it through that method, through the methodology of Zen, it weeds out anyone that doesn't have commitment. And the commitment is a lifelong commitment. It's not about going, I'm going to do this thing for 5 years and get my black belt, if you're lucky, in Aikido. And then you go, oh, well, I achieved my goal. It's like, okay, there's certain schools that facilitate that, but the methodology of Zen doesn't. So at 5 years, you should still just be sitting there going, man, I've got so much more to learn. That black belt's just the beginning of where you go from here. You know, white belt was the beginning of starting, but the black belt is the beginning of to understand.